Before we get this video started, I'd like to give a special thank you to the guys down at Toyota Corvallis for allowing me to come down and review the 2020 Toyota Rav4 TRD Off-Road. If you're looking for a TRD Off-Road Rav or any of the other dependable Toyota models, be sure to hit them up and they'll be happy to get you into your next vehicle. What's going on? This is Big G for G Riders and welcome to another episode of Test Your Rides. Today I'm going to be testing out the 2020 Toyota Rav4 TRD Off-Road.
Perfect.
Welcome to the 2020 Toyota Rav4 TRD Off-Road. The Toyota Rav4 is now in its sixth generation and it is one of Toyota's hottest selling models. And for the sixth generation, the Toyota Rav4 now has a new personality versus the previous model it replaced. So the previous model was more car-like. It was almost like a 50 Camry, if you will. But for the sixth generation of the Toyota Rav4, it is now more like it's getting back to its SUV roots, and it's now almost like a baby 4Runner, which is pretty cool, which makes sense why the TRD off-road model of the new Rav4 exists. Since this is a TRD model of the Toyota Rav4, this is has a little bit more special. It's a little bit more special versus the adventure grade Rav4, which looks like almost exactly like this, except there's a lot of small changes when we can point out and we go take a look around the vehicle. So this vehicle has some specially tuned TRD suspension on it that is derived from the suspension that came off of the Toyota Rav4 Rally, which is pretty awesome. So basically, this Rav4 has Rally-inspired suspension, which is pretty awesome. But we'll talk a little bit more about how that translates to the road when we go on the driving portion. So this is the 2020 Toyota Rav4, and all Toyota Rav4s come standard with a 2.5 liter inline 4-cylinder, making 208 horsepower and 184 foot-pounds of torque. Since this is a small crossover, these things aren't that lightweight nowadays. This weighs about 3,600 pounds, which again is not that bad, but that's about average for most crossovers weigh in this segment. And it gets a very respectable 25 in the city and 33 out in the highway, which is actually pretty good for this car being only in all-wheel drive variant. So this is the 2020 Toyota Rav4 TRD Off-Road. And the TRD Off-Road is the range-topping model of the Toyota Rav4. And this one, being a particularly early car on the dealer's lot, this has every single option box ticked. So this comes with the TRD Off-Road Tech Package, Cold Weather Package, and the JBL Sound System Package. And that's about a $5,000 package on this Rav4, making this one just slightly over $40,000. And honestly, that makes sense given the level that this car is at. Because most crossovers this size that have this type of equipment and options on it are about this price. So let's go and take a look around the vehicle and take a look at some of the details that the TRD Off-Road has versus like a normal Rav4. Welcome to the walk-around portion of the 2020 Toyota TRD Off-Road Rav4. So let's go ahead and start here in the front. First of all, I love this red color. This red is pretty awesome. I don't know the exact name of the red. I'll put it up on the screen here, but it looks pretty awesome. Just the front angle of the new Rav4 looks so aggressive. It looks just like a 4Runner. I think it looks pretty awesome. And then, so since this is the loaded Rav4, it does have a 360 camera, as you can see here. Got a front camera there. You got some parking sensors around there. Coming out to the side here, these have some specialty TRD off-road Rav4 wheels that only comes on these models. You may be able to get these as an option too, but it comes with some TRD off-road wheels, and they are wrapped in some all-terrain Falcon tires. And I think a vehicle like this really needs something like that. So if we take a look here, this does have the 360 camera in the mirror, nice black mirror caps there. It looks pretty awesome. Coming on the sides, your same old Rav4, same wheels as we looked at in the front. Then you come around the back, you got the TRD off-road badge there. The nice little blacked out Rav4 badge. It looks pretty awesome here. And then one thing I do like about this TRD off-road is it has, instead of the silver ones like the adventure grade has, the bottom panels are painted like dark gray, which looks pretty awesome. But if you're going to do some off-roading in this vehicle, I would possibly get those wrapped or protected in some type of way. Maybe paint protection film or something like that. Coming on the side of the new Rav4, I just love this character line that goes from, that wraps around like a C shape there like that, and then goes all along the side here. I think it makes this car look really nice. As you can see there, that looks pretty awesome. One thing I didn't know is now Toyota does remote start on the vehicle. So if we take the key fob here, hit lock once, hit lock twice, press and hold. Lights flash. The car is now started, which is pretty awesome. And the lights flash for a little bit, then they turn off. So let's go ahead and hop in and see what the inside is like of the new Rav4 TRD Off-Road. So before I hop in, I still like, that video never came out, but I'll talk about it. So I'll talk about it now. I like the patterns on the speaker grills here, and it kind of transfers over to the seats too. I think that looks pretty awesome. As you can see there, so you got the TRD in the headrest, and then you got the nice red stitching, as you can see there, all across the interior of the car. All across the dash, and then the cup holders have some red on it. And then also in there where the wireless charger and everything has some red on it. I think that looks pretty awesome. Welcome to the interior of the 2020 Toyota TRD Off-Road Rav4. So looking around the interior, everything is pretty nice. Like there's not too many cheap plastics in the car. The dash feels nice. You got a little bit of cheap plastic there, but you know, this is a compact crossover. This is not a luxury crossover, so you expect to find some cheap plastics here and there, but for the most part, it's not too bad. This interior is basically the same exact interior as we saw on the 2019 Limited Rav4 that I reviewed about a year ago. So go ahead and kind of, for some more details, go ahead and reference back to that video. But I'm going to talk about a couple things that are different about this particular interior versus that one. So since this one is a pretty loaded up model, this has all the options. I'm going to go ahead and start the car up. As you can see up there in the corner, this has the digital rearview mirror like you find in a lot of GM products. So it's kind of working its way over to Toyota now. I know a lot of people just turn it off and go to the view of the normal one, but honestly, I like the digital one, so I'm going to leave that on. And as it has a Wi-Fi option. As you can see, it has the GPS, has projection, has all that good stuff. It's just like any other vehicle that you'll see. And then when you put it in reverse, you have the 360 view camera. You hit that button, you get both the backup camera, the front camera, and the rear camera, which is pretty nice. And I think honestly that's a pretty cool package to have if you're going to be doing some off-roading, so you can kind of see where some obstacles are. I think that's pretty awesome. But for the most part, and it has like the wireless charger down here, and then it has all the different modes for all your all-terrain modes right down here, including the sport mode and normal mode, eco mode, and all that good stuff. So I think that's pretty awesome, and I think that's kind of standard issue. We expect kind of standard thing that you expect from a car like this. Lots of good storage in the middle here. And we're going to cut to my other camera here. And this, as you can see, this car has actually a decent amount of room. You know, this is not a very flattering angle for anybody, but you know, I'm a big guy and I'm relatively comfortable in here. I have like decent amount of headroom. I'm glad it has a sunroof. I wish it had the panoramic sunroof, but you know, that's whatever. Hopefully they maybe will offer it at some point, but if not, whatever, that's fine. But it's a pretty spacious interior. Back seat's pretty decent and trunk space is pretty decent. So, you know, only thing really left to do on this video is to drive it. So let's go ahead and head on the road and see how it drives. All right, let's go ahead and hop out on the road and see how this thing handles and drives. So the first thing I've noticed when hopping out on the road in the 2020 TRD Off-Road Rav4 is I actually like the ride of this one a little more than the regular one. I think the regular one is a little bit too stiff, and since this one has a specially tuned suspension that is tuned for kind of going off-road and having fun and on some trails and things like that, this ride is way more comfortable. It's like nice and soft and compliant, but it feels like it also can handle curves pretty well, and we'll kind of see that when we get out here when we get on a little bit of open road. So, you know, this Rav4 has the naturally aspirated 4-cylinder, making 203 horsepower. And we put your foot down, it feels like every bit of, 200 and something horsepower. I think that it's not too bad at all. It feels like it's enough, but more power is always great too. So before we kind of get into a little bit more twisty roads, I'm just driving along here, and this car is relatively quiet. Like, I have no complaints. This car is pretty quiet. Like, it has like a little bit of road noise, but it's not nothing crazy. Again, this is not a luxury SUV. This is like a compact crossover. So this is pretty good for a car of this nature. Steering feels pretty good. It's decent responsive, but it's it's a compact crossover steering, so it's nothing real. It's nothing great. I wish it had tighter steering, almost like kind of how the Camry has like the Camry SE has, but you can't get everything you want in an SUV like this. So coming to a stop, let's go ahead and put the vehicle with the auto hold feature. I love when cars have auto hold. It makes it so you don't have to sit there and hold the brake for the entire time while you're sitting at a stoplight or anything like that. So just kind of a couple things I've noticed right out the gate. Like, the seats are actually pretty comfortable in this car. I talked a little bit about that. Like, I have pretty decent amount of room, but the seats are actually pretty comfortable. And I got into a driving position pretty quickly here. The only thing about it for me is I wish the seat went just a little bit lower, but this car is not really designed for guys my size. So I do think that it's good that this vehicle can hold a guy like my size pretty comfortably, actually, like enough to where I would own a car like this. So what do I don't like about the RAV4? $40,000 is quite a bit for a car for this vehicle, I feel like, because this is essentially just a lifted RAV4. I understand it does have some specialty TRD tuned shocks, but the fact of the matter is, this is just a lifted RAV4. Now, maybe if this vehicle came with like the hybrid option or something like that, so you can at least get a little bit better gas mileage or have a little bit more power, if this offered a different engine for that $40,000, I feel like it'd be a little more justified. But I think that in this current spec, I think that's a little too much for this car. So I would actually still buy one, because I think the idea of the TRD off-road RAV4 is really cool, and I thought that's what they were going to do with the Adventure Grade, but they have went a couple steps further than the Adventure Grade with this model, and I think that's kind of the important thing. So kind of the question is this worth more than a Adventure Grade RAV4? And I've driven the TRD, and I've driven the Adventure Grade RAV4, the new one. That was actually the first RAV4 that I drove before the Limited. I just lost some footage from that drive, but I have driven that one, and I think this one rides a lot better. The TRD shocks makes a big difference in the way this thing handles on the road. I can't, of course, go off-road in this vehicle. I would love to go off-road in this vehicle and the Adventure Grade, but because they're dealership demos, basically, I can't really do that. So that's a little unfortunate. But for the most part, I love the way this drives. I think this is one of the better driving of the kind of off-roady of the crossovers, because I've driven the Jeep Cherokee and Compass Trailhawk, and those SUVs are pretty good too. But for me personally, just the way they drive, I think that they drive too much like they ride a little too bouncy. They ride a little bit too bouncy, and with this one, this has a little bit more bounce to it, but it still has a stiffness to it that gives you a little bit more confidence when driving it on the roads every day. But honestly, I like both of them, and I like the idea of a more lifted, off-road worthy compact crossover. I think that's a great idea, and I'm glad that a lot of the companies are starting to do that now. So, what do I think overall about the 2020 TRD off-road RAV4? I think it looks pretty damn awesome. I think it drives really well. I think it has a lot of good. I think this particular one being loaded up at $40,000 is actually, it's expensive to only have kind of the base 4-cylinder engine, but the amount of equipment that this has it makes sense. But I think it could be a little bit cheaper. I think they should keep it a little under $40,000 if you ask me. But I guess that's kind of what they have to price this vehicle at to make it make sense at what the equipment that it has. So, you know, this 2020 TRD off-road RAV4 is a pretty awesome package. If you're looking for kind of an off-road worthy small crossover, kind of that's a little bit more special than your average adventure grade RAV4 or anything like that, this is definitely a great option for you. But if you're trying to just get a vehicle that has just the look only, this is not it, just because of how expensive it is. Like, if you're going to get the TRD off-road, you actually need to be, I feel like you would have to actually want to use this vehicle off-road or on trails or anything like that if you bought this one. But if not, the adventure grade is enough RAV4 for you. But I think this is definitely a cool option to get if you're looking at a RAV4. So if you're looking at a pretty awesome looking, great driving, great looking, and you're looking for kind of the top of the range of the RAV4, this is definitely the RAV4 for you. But if you're looking for a more budget conscious model, this is definitely not the one for you due to kind of its $40,000 price point. But it's an awesome car. Definitely take a look at it if you're thinking about doing a TRD off-road RAV4. So if you like this video, hit me with a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, keep riding with me. Thanks for watching.